Hey friends, what up, what up? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope you're well. Time for another This Week in Fragrance, where I'm gonna go over with you guys some upcoming fragrance releases that you have to look forward to. And there's some pretty big ones and some fairly confusing ones this time around. Got a couple new fragrances from Creed, one of them which is kind of a head scratcher, we'll talk about. Also a new Hugo Boss, a new Ralph's Club, a new Armani, and a new Tom Ford. So lots of new things coming our way really soon. And some of these you can actually already order right now. Yeah, a couple of those deals where basically it gets announced the second that it's dropped at stores. It doesn't always happen that way. Actually, most of the time it doesn't, but sometimes it does. I'll have linked in the description where you can find some more information on these fragrances in case you want to look that up on your own at ifragranceofficial.com, and I will also link to the fragrances that you can already find as well. Let's kick things off with that new Ralph's Club. This one is from Ralph Lauren, of course. Ralph's Club Eau de Toilette. Yeah, they're kind of like working in reverse a little bit here. So the original one, that was the Eau de Parfum. Then they came out with the Parfum, then an elixir, and then they roped it all the way back around to doing the Eau de Toilette. Because a lot of times, you know, it actually starts with the Eau de Toilette in a fragrance line, then the Eau de Parfum, then the Parfum, then the elixir. And Ralph's Club Eau de Toilette, you can already order from Nordstrom in the US. I've already ordered my bottle. It's not here yet, but it's been ordered. And it's actually priced really competitively considering what a lot of things are going for nowadays. This one, full retail, $105 for a 100 ml size bottle. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not gonna argue that, considering again, that a lot of fragrances nowadays are cresting $200 or right at it. And Ralph's Club is a line that I think maybe gets a little more hate than is warranted, or at least did when it first launched. I think nowadays a lot of people have come around to really enjoy the line. It's a very versatile line of fragrances, nice compliment pullers. I think they have a nice classy edge to them while still being really modern and easygoing. Let's go ahead and check out the write-up from Ralph Lauren for this fragrance. Ralph's Club Eau de Toilette is the new men's fragrance from Ralph Lauren. It's a woody, aromatic fragrance that is an interpretation of clarity and sophistication. The refreshing blend opens with the vibrancy of zesty grapefruit, underlined by precious lavender and aromatic clary sage, which lends the fragrance its aromatic identity. The radiant top notes pave the way for the true essence of the blend through geranium for an airy floral quality. As it further settles, it unfurls an impeccable blend of woods that are tamed by fluffy whiffs of musk for a sensual, intimate blend. So thankfully, Ralph Lauren is actually giving us a legitimate note breakdown here. I talk about this pretty much every time, but a lot of brands at this point are going to just the very simple 3-note note breakdown. This one gives us a little more. So the full note breakdown is off the top, mandarin orange, grapefruit, and apple. In the mid, sage, lavender, geranium, and lily of the valley. And in the base, vetiver, patchouli, cashmeran, and musk. Now compare that to the original, which had a very simplistic note breakdown, lavender, clary sage, cedar, vetiver. That was pretty much it. But that one did have a nice sweet tinge to it. You know, it's drawn a little bit of a comparison to fragrances like Y Eau de Parfum, Y Le Parfum, fragrances in that style. And truth be told, I actually like this note breakdown. I like the idea here because it still has the lavender, the sage from the original, still has the vetiver in there as well. But then you have additional notes, mandarin, grapefruit, apple, geranium, that add what I'm assuming is going to be a good amount of freshness, maybe an additional, you know, zingy vibrancy off the top, a little sweetness in there as well. And I would imagine with the cashmere and the musks that it's gonna have more of a fresh, modern, woody, masculine dry down. Now I know I just compared the original to the Y line, you know, Y Eau de Parfum, Y Le Parfum in that wheelhouse. Obviously Ralph's Club, the Eau de Parfum is not the exact same as those, but if you like one, you'll probably like the other. And I do wonder if this follows in that style a little bit. You know, I'm kind of zoning in on the geranium and the apple there, wondering if that ties it in a little bit with that similar scent profile to Y, or if this is going to go a little bit of a different direction, even though it does have those similar notes. Regardless, I would think at the price point, again, 105, and how well they've been able to accomplish the Ralph's Club line, this stuff could actually slap. Once this hits discounters, I could see this, going for about 60 bucks. It could be a great, versatile fragrance for so many people out there. Again, that Ralph's Club line, really good for compliments, very versatile. And if this takes things a little step toward the fresh side of the pool, I'm here for it. So I know this is one that's probably not gonna get a whole lot of people fired up necessarily, not in the same way that like Eros would, or Eros Energy, or the excitement behind a new Y or a new Bleu de Chanel or Sauvage or one of those really big lines. It's not gonna get like the same amount of people going, oh man, a new Ralph's Club for super cheap? That's not gonna happen. But once this hits, assuming they accomplish it as well as they've shown they can, then I think it could be a little bit of a sleeper, just in the sense of it not being as anticipated and then people going, oh, actually, really good. Which to talk about next? Let's talk about the Armani next, and then we'll do the two Creeds right after that. The fragrance is Emporio He 2024. This is being presented as a new collector's fragrance, and here is the write-up from the brand. Experience the magnetic, sensual, and woody scent of Emporio Armani Classic He Eau de Toilette, the iconic scent of essential and timeless masculinity, now in a new, pure anthracite metallic bottle. The new fragrance opens with a fresh and vibrant note of Japanese yuzu, which gives an energetic and sparkling start to the perfume. The heart note of sensual white musk adds warmth and depth, while the spicy notes of cardamom provide a spicy twist. The fragrance is rounded off with an elegant vetiver accord, which leaves a lasting impression of refined masculinity. Together, these notes create a harmonious and magnetically attractive perfume, which perfectly embodies the essence of timeless masculinity. I really want you to know that this is for timeless masculinity. You gotta know that. Don't be coming at me with anything else other than timeless masculinity. The bottle looks pretty slick, and it does look like a modernized take on the original Armani He. But this is kind of an odd one to me, and it makes me once again just think to myself, what exactly is going on at Armani right now? I don't know. Let's really quickly just recap those notes. A very simplified note breakdown. Yuzu off the top, musk, cardamom in the mid, vetiver in the base. 4 notes. Now, this is Emporio He 2024. And it says, in the write-up there, the new fragrance opens with, and then goes on to describe the notes. But then before that, it says, experience the magnetic, sensual, and woody scent of Emporio Armani Classic He Eau de Toilette, the iconic scent, blah, blah, blah. So it makes it seem like this is essentially a rebottling. And if that is the case, I just question again, why? What are you doing? So the original, like the first one, came out in 1998. And where you look online, Fragrantica, Parfumo, most places that's gonna be called Emporio Armani Louis, so L-U-I. And then in 2020, they came out with Emporio Armani He, and that was very similar bottle. I actually have both of them. I've got the original and then the 2020, and side by side, they look essentially the same. Just a cylindrical tube, a metallic tube, and it has like a little rubbery kind of atomizer that you press down. And not for nothing, but that fragrance is not massively popular. And it's nothing against this fragrance, okay? The original or the 2020 iteration or now the 2024, but when people think Armani, they're not thinking this, right? They're thinking Acqua di Gio, they're thinking Code, they're thinking Stronger With You in the Emporio Armani name. Nobody's really like clamoring for this, which is why I just kind of am like, why? Another interesting thing about this is they basically just keep dumbing down the note breakdown. If you look at the original from 98, it had a lot of notes on there. It did have yuzu, it did have cardamom, it had woody notes, it had musk, but then when they came out with the 2020 iteration, they They trimmed that down. It still had yuzu, still had cardamom, still had musk, still had vetiver, but it had additional notes in there: sage, nutmeg, rose, iris, sandalwood, tonka. And now with this new iteration, they're like, yo, what if we put it in a new bottle and dumb it down even more? I think it'll work. So if this is indeed just a rebottling of a fragrance that had its day in the sun quite a while ago, I, again, just don't understand why. But that is what Armani is doing, Emporio He 2024. If this is something completely new, I'll let you guys know. I'll pick up a bottle. If it's the exact same thing, just rebottled, I don't know that it's overly worth talking about in terms of like a full review, but I'll check it out regardless. Hopefully it is something a little new. All right, let's talk Creed. There are 2 new Creed fragrances. The first one we'll talk about is Absolu Aventus Triple Aged. Yes, that is something. So this is a new collector's edition of Absolu Aventus, and they came out with an Aventus collector's edition back maybe 2-3 years ago, something like that. Who knows, could have been even longer. But at the time that came out, I said that's a cash grab. It was basically, they took Aventus, they put it into a bottle that looked like a green Irish tweed bottle with like a silver mountain water cap, if memory serves correctly, and put a new sticker on the front. And they were like, collector's edition, haha. And now they are hitting us with Absolu Aventus Triple Aged Batch. Now this has started to pop up for sale already online. There are a couple places you can find it in some of the groups. People have been selling bottles. It shares, as best as I can tell, as best as I can find, the same notes as Absolu Aventus. So grapefruit, bergamot, blackcurrant, ginger, cinnamon, citron, cardamom, pink pepper, patchouli, vetiver. And this does present a number of questions. So where to start? I guess the first thing would be, what does triple aged batch mean exactly? And I'm assuming that when they drop this officially, put out like all their copy from the brand, that there will be some information in there about that. But does it really have much of an effect on the fragrance? Like, this isn't a whiskey, right? So if you have a whiskey or a scotch or something and you're aging it in a barrel and it's triple aged versus the amount of time it would normally be aged with that particular whiskey, then it makes sense, right? You go like, oh, this one has been aged for many more years in this particular type of cask, blah, 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 blah. And it affects the flavor in this way. It makes it deeper, richer. It's harder to get. It takes longer to produce the stuff by multiple years, so it's going to cost more. It's going to be rarer, but it makes sense because more effort went into it. With triple aged batch Absolu Aventus, what does that mean exactly? Like, Absolu Aventus came out last year, so how much longer exactly are you aging this, and in what way does that affect anything? They're like, oh, we let this one macerate for an extra 6 months. So that extra maceration means that now it's deeper, richer, stronger, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. To me, I hate to be kind of cynical here, but to me, it comes across more as just like a cash grab again. And I know that they would say, oh, no, that's not the case. This is like actually the best, the best of the best, the highest quality. And I actually really like Absolu Aventus. Legitimately, I think Absolu Aventus smells bomb. It's expensive. I spent a lot to get it, but it smells great. This to me though, just feels like Creed knowing that there's a whole thing with batch variations and collectability with batch variations, specifically with Aventus. And they looked at that and they were like, how can we make some money off this? Obviously, I'm gonna buy this. I'll get it in, see how it is, see how it smells. If there are differences, what they are, if they are really noticeable, or if it's one of those deals that you have to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then you're just kind of trying to convince yourself there are differences. Because I've had that before, but I would kind of demand actually that if you're buying a triple aged Absolu Aventus and spending however much more money this is gonna cost, it should be something where you smell and you go, oh, Yeah, there is a big difference here between these two, and here's what it is. It should not be something where you're like, I think that one is a little bit deeper. That's not worth it. And that to me would scream cash grab. But that's what's going on. Absolu Aventus, triple aged batch, same note breakdown, limited edition collector's fragrance. Scoop it up if you want. And then the other creed is called Delphinus. And this is part of a collection of fragrances, a trio of fragrances. We talked about Centaurus already. This is apparently going to be called the Amber Trio. So there's going to be another one as well. But Delphinus has been leaked, and it says that this looks to the sky for inspiration. Named after the constellation, the perfume depicts its namesake through an interesting choice of notes. The scent opens with a delightful floral iris until the allure of spicy incense takes hold of the blend. The perfume ends with delicious warm vanilla bourbon that will leave you craving more. Comes in a nice orange colored bottle. No breakdown, at least as of right now, what we have is just that. 3 notes, iris, incense, vanilla bourbon. I'm assuming that probably will grow as this gets closer to being released. And I said before with Centaurus, I talked about that in a previous video, got tongue-tied there. It makes a lot of sense. Creed doesn't really have this type of scent, right? This warm, rich, cozy, sexy, sweet scent profile. They don't really have too much that fits that bill. And I'm sure that Creed has been looking at things that have been successful with other brands, specifically mainstream niche brands, and they've seen that doing really well, and this is the result. They've basically seen brands like Parfums de Marly come out with fragrances over and over again, and Initio and just other, again, mainstream brands that are sweet scents with good performance that kind of, you know, follow the trend of what's popular in designer brands right now. They've seen that, they've seen it be successful, and now they're wanting their slice of the pie, basically. And what better way than to just shotgun out 3 fragrances at once and be like, one of these is gonna work for sure. Now, there's, again, not much to go off here, iris, incense, and vanilla bourbon, but I like all 3 of those things. You put those 3 things together, you got my attention. And I said as well that Centaurus sounded really good, just as far as the note breakdown and everything. So this Amber Trio is either gonna be something where I smell these and I think to myself, Creed, you should have been doing this the whole time. This stuff is fantastic. Or I'm gonna be extremely let down and just be like, leave it to the other brands. So there we go, Delphinus, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hopeful about the Absolu Aventus. I mean, I don't know, but I'm hopeful. With Delphinus, I'm definitely looking forward to. All right, let's talk about another weird one. This is Hugo Reversed 2024 from Hugo Boss. Why is that one weird? Well, because Hugo Reversed already existed in the little canteen bottle. Remember that one? It's pretty cheap. You can get it for about 30 bucks online, talking about the canteen bottle of Hugo Reversed. Had a really simple note breakdown, that one. It was grapefruit, bergamot, rosemary, vetiver, and it kind of got a bit of hype as being a cheap version of Elysium, or more correctly, a cheap fragrance that gives Elysium kind of vibes off the top with like that sparkly citrus and everything. And now Hugo Boss is like, oh, that's cool. What if we re-release Hugo Reversed, but with a twist on the notes? So it's a weird year. There's a lot of stuff that's happening where it's like, this would not have been on my like fragrance bingo card for 2024, but here we are. Here's the write-up from the brand. Live your life to the fullest and embrace your truth. The new Hugo Reversed expresses authenticity and personal style. Give yourself a chance to live only your way. The blend opens with a citrusy blast of lemon, mandarin orange tinged with quince, and hot pink pepper with a cooling sensation emanating from mint. As the blend settles, it unfurls a spicy undertone boasting nutmeg and coriander with a delicate array of florals such as jasmine, juniper, and freesia. As it cools further, it showcases a robust woody blend, or woody base, excuse me, of teak wood, vanilla, and leather. So I told you guys the note breakdown of the original just a second ago. Really simple. This one obviously much more complex as far as the note breakdown goes. Pink pepper, lemon, quince, pineapple leaf, mint, mandarin orange, cardamom, nutmeg, jasmine, juniper, freesia, coriander, clary sage, vanilla, leather, and teakwood. If you told me beforehand that all these fragrances were gonna come out around the same time, the Ralph Lauren, the Creeds, the Tom Ford, Hugo Boss, all this stuff, and you said, okay, which of these do you think is gonna have the most complex note breakdown? I would have not chosen the Hugo Boss, but there it is. And actually, I like that note breakdown. Pretty interesting. Pineapple leaf, mint, lemon, quince, mandarin orange. Get a little nutmeg in there, juniper, some aromatic spices, clary sage, jasmine, freesia, and then vanilla, leather, teakwood in the base. Like, okay. All right. There's a lot of ways that could go. With this being a Hugo Boss, I would expect it not to be too expensive. They have changed up the bottle style here also, which I find very interesting. As I said before, the previous Hugo Reversed, that was in their canteen style bottles. And the canteen style bottles, to me, kind of signify, typically anyway, a fragrance that's gonna be a little bit on the cheaper side of things, but that you can usually get for a pretty good price from discounters. A lot of them are decent freshies. But now they've put it into the bottle style of like Hugo Dark Blue from like the late 90s. This kind of shaker style bottle, basically. Looks a little bit reminiscent of the Pepe Jeans fragrance bottles also. So I guess they didn't want anyone to be confused and not know which Hugo Reversed is which. And so this is the fix, I guess. As I said though, note breakdown looks pretty intriguing, and as long as the quality is decent on this one, it could be another one flies under the radar and is actually low-key really good. And I would expect this to hit discounters and be marked off pretty quickly in a large way, because a lot of these Hugo fragrances outside of like the Boss bottled ones do get marked down a pretty good amount. So I'm looking forward to that. And then last up, we have a new Tom Ford Black Lacquer. Tom Ford has launched the new perfume Black Lacquer within the Private Blend collection, which will be the official fragrance of the upcoming Summer 25 fashion show in Milan. It features 2 exclusive innovations: an incandescent black lacquer accord that captures a smoky, dimensional opulence, and a Macassar ebony wood note. I probably just butchered that, I apologize. And that evokes aspects of leather and birch, which I would expect would be quite smoky. The brand says that beneath the glossy surface blooms the irrepressible mystery of a dark peony accord. So this one has in the top vinyl, ink, black pepper, and black rum. In the mid, ebony wood, apricot, dark peony, and elemi. And in the base, olibanum. That actually sounds sick. And this is another one of those deals where, this seems to be happening a lot here lately, but this is another one of those deals where the fragrance popped up for sale and then they moved the page down, like they took it back off the internet. I don't know how or why this has consistently been happening here over the past, couple months, but it's been happening a lot where a fragrance will be announced and then it's like, oh, it's for sale. Look there. Oh, it's gone. What happened? That happened with Sauvage Eau Forte. That happened with this one. That happened with Luna Rossa Sport, the new Luna Rossa Sport. There's been a few. Yeah, so 50 mil, $405. Or you can get a 250 mil flacon for the low price of $1,350. What a deal. I know a lot of people feel like disenchanted at this point from the Tom Ford Private Blend releases because they are super pricey, and some of them people think are just not really like worth that price point. And I'm not saying this one is gonna be. Obviously I've not smelled it, but I do like the note breakdown. It comes across like something that's gonna be a bit challenging, but has some interesting like sweet aspects in there as well that could make this something that really stands out. Of course, it could also be something that you get and is just horrifically overpriced, but I would hope that's not the case. And I do really like the look of the bottle too, that kind of like blacked out look, pretty sweet. So this one actually makes me stand up and take notice. Like Vanilla Sex came out and I was like, oh, okay, you know, whatever. But this one, I don't know, that sounded pretty good. So there we go, guys. Yeah, weird stuff, weird stuff. Hugo Reversed is back, but different and in a different bottle. Emporio Armani He is back and in a different bottle, but probably not actually different. Absolu Aventus is now triple aged, but what does that actually mean? And then Ralph's Club has a new eau de toilette for cheap. That's cool. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Let me know what you're looking forward to the most out of all these different fragrances that are just kind of all over the place. Stay safe out there, guys. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.